Standing in the light, I never wanted to be right. Been to the light, 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 been to the light. Standing in the light, I never wanted to be right. Standing in the light, I never wanted to be right. Standing in the light, I never wanted to be right. Standing in the light, I never wanted to be right. Into the light, into the light, into the light, into the light. I know this isn't what people want to hear about, but I don't know how I got on it. I was listening to music. 51050 fold. That's how I fucking got on it. Cocteau Twins. Damn it. What's fascinating when you seek things? Seek new things in the field you enjoy. Like music, for instance. Over the years, I made time to do this. Did a lot of other bad, wrong things. Wasted time on a lot of things. But I made time to do this. It may have cost me whatever. It was worth it, I think. I don't know, when I was in my early 30s, late 20s, I got into a lot of groups I didn't really know about or I didn't give a chance when I was a young man really into music, discovering it, loving it, buying it, practicing it. For instance, Metallica, I really didn't listen to that much of them growing up, even though I was a kid in the 80s. Graduated high school in the early 90s. So I should have been into Metallica as a white boy in mid-80s America, late 80s America. If I liked rock music, I should have been into Metallica, right? I liked them. Yeah, they were good. When people played their songs or whatever, yeah, I liked it. But it wasn't really till I was like my late 20s, early 30s where I really listened to all their early songs, really paid attention to the music, what they were doing. And I just realized how fucking incredible those dudes. I don't care if they were on coke. Straight musicians, those motherfuckers, Metallica. Didn't even mean to talk about them. When they were younger, before they did the cut their hair thing, the PR thing, the let's try pseudo grunge Metallica, whatever they did. Whatever, man. That's their life, their prerogative. But before that, when they were young men, skinny, hungry, on coke, whatever, playing that speed metal, no one has rivaled it. No one in the heavy metal field. That's what I learned when I really paid attention to Metallica and fucking check their catalog out. Those solos, those metal solos, no one's even touched them. Yeah, there's other metal bands that tried. No. No one's beat them. No one's touched them. They are the quintessential. They are the standard for every other metal solo. Kirk Hammett busting a solo out. Post Sabbath, of course. Sabbath was the original metal band. Sabbath I was into when I was actually a teenager, 17, 18, 19. So I knew about them, but Metallica I really didn't give a chance. And I realized how incredible those motherfuckers are. As just straight musicians. So in my late 20s, early 30s, I tried them. The Cure, I didn't know about them. All I knew about The Cure is, Friday Night, I'm in Love. What they bullshit they showed us on MTV. The weakest shit The Cure did, basically. When you go through their albums, my God, what they've done. In the 80s, son, I'm talking. Early 90s. Even after that, they've always done cool shit. Even in their later years, you still find 2, 3 songs on the album that are good. That's rare. So bands like them, the Cocteau Twins, I had no idea who the fuck they were. Didn't know. All I know is the blonde-haired singer lady. I don't even remember her name. What was her name? Emily or something? I don't even know. Doing that song for a movie that I liked. And it's a kind of creepy song and it's a creepy fucking movie. But it's a display of talent and ability that she has. And I didn't realize what she had done before that. So from that song, I checked out her other real band, which she should have stayed in her whole life no matter how much her and the guitar player couldn't stand each other anymore, whatever the fuck. Because I think they were in a relationship. Which makes sense because they're both insanely fucking talented. At least she was. We all get older. We can't do the, teen angst, early 20s angst. Sing your throat off, forever. I get it. I get it. I'm not disparaging the woman. Because I've learned from that woman. That's another thing I'm trying to say here. I found things that I could learn from. I learned from those Metallica solos, even though that's not my kind of music that I make. I'll never write a speed metal solo. It's just not what I do, and I'd be faking the funk if I did it. It's not me. It is Kirk Hammett. It is James Hetfield. I'm more like the Cocteau Twins. When I listen to their crazy, over-affected, strange guitar riffs, and I'm more like this band I was going to talk about that I had no idea what they've done, son. So I'm here to tell you. But the Cocteau Twins, again, early 80s, late 70s, mid 80s, I don't know. My God, what they've done. They were at least, I don't know, 12, 13 years ahead of their fucking time. They could have came out in the grunge era and we all would have loved it. It would have fit right the fuck in, too. The guitar style, the effects, her raw fucking just straight talent. My God, she's one of the best female singers that ever walked this earth. And her creativity, it was different. And it's her when she sings, and you know what a Cocteau Twins song is when you hear it. It's distinct. It's creative as fuck. Trying to do something artistic. Trying to put some real art forth, you can tell. Because the shit was risky. People could have hated it. It's strange music. And I fucking love it. Mainly they're more rocky type stuff. But even, their other shit's interesting. Even when they got into electronic, it was still interesting, but, they went a little overboard with it. But him on guitar, so creative. And you don't got to do, everybody thinks when you make a song, You have to have, you know, 2, 3 choruses, a bridge, a fucking solo. After you do 2 choruses, you do the solo, and then you do the third chorus and rock music, right? You got to do that. That's standard, right? You have to. That's a standard formula. I never really looked at it that way. I actually wanted to be, the kind of guitar player I wanted to be was a Mike McCready style. He's the one that really impressed me. Um, as far as I'm concerned, he's the closest thing that Jimi Hendrix will ever have. He understands delay and that style of blues delay playing like Hendrix did. If I wanted to hear anyone play Hendrix on this earth, and only them, Mike McCready, no one else. I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care if you're Stevie Ray fucking Vaughan. I don't care. All I want to hear is Mike McCready, because I get a Hendrix vibe from that motherfucker like I've never gotten from anyone. The guy's a straight up genius on guitar. He's the only one that can do some delay Hendrix shit right. The only one that's alive now. And once he's gone, man, there ain't gonna be no more. I just know that. Not like him. Uh so not every song has to have, that's the way I envisioned how I wanted my music to be when I was a young man. Because I love Pearl Jam. I love the way Eddie Vedder sang. I still to this day think Mike McCready again is the closest thing that Hendrix will ever see. He truly understands what Hendrix was doing, and he can do it. It's incredible. And he's probably the only one that ever truly understands it. The delay aspect. And I have a feeling what he was trying to do with his playing, I think he wanted to make his maggot brain. Because Eddie Hazel is almost as good or as good as Hendrix in my mind. Just from maggot brain alone. A complete, utter understanding of distorted blues guitar with wah-wah and delay. He understood it, and you could tell by the way he put it forth. Like Hendrix understood it. In a profound way. Maggot Brain's a fucking masterpiece. And as brilliant as Hendrix was, I never got that emotional, deep emotional feeling from a Hendrix song like I get from Maggot Brain. You can feel the pain in Maggot Brain. My God. The guitar's just screaming, son. You can't fake that. You can't fake that funk. Do you understand that? That's real. You can't just get on a stage and fake that funk. You can't get in a studio and fake that funk. You can't just do a song like Maggot Brain. There has to be some emotional transference going on. You can feel it in the fucking room. That has to be there. Otherwise, you don't get Maggot Brain. You get something that might be great, but not something that reaches people in that profound way, like Maggot Brain. My God. If Hazel did nothing else, it would have been enough. Like Shakespeare, if he just would have did Romeo and Juliet, it would have been enough. Let alone all his other shit. He wrote a lot of cheesy poems, though. Practice, I guess. But Romeo and Juliet's a masterpiece. No one will ever rival it as a play, in my opinion. It is the play. If one were going to have a play or a movie about that era, about poet, that poetic type storytelling. Anyway, so Mike McCready, I have a feeling he wanted to make his Maggot Brain. He wanted to make something on that level, and he did. November Hotel, my God. The speed solo at the end of that, and he's not even a metal player. He's a bluesy type player. The speed that he's hitting those notes on the fret hand, son, not the pick hand. I don't care what drug he was on, if he was on something, if it resulted in that fucking masterpiece. Listen to November Hotel. That is, again, that's straight Hendrix, son, what he's doing there. Do you understand that? I guess what I'm trying to say, Mr. McCready, if you were trying to make your maggot brain and you wanted people to feel it and get it, you did it, son. November Hotel. Straight up. I've thought about it many a time. Because I know you're that kind of player. That bluesy, Hendrixy, Hazel type player. That's you. You've mastered it, son. Sorry I'm calling you son. I'm used to saying it. I won't call you that anymore. I have too much respect for you. You did it, man. You made a maggot brain. It's on that level. It's on Hendrix level. It's on Hazel level. And you're the only guy on the planet that could do it. And you fucking did it. That's motherfucking impressive. I commend you, sir. And forgive me for calling you son. I'm so used to saying that. And I'm an asshole. Where was I going with that? I went to Mike McCready. Oh, because that's the type of guitar player I wanted to be. McCready first, and then I got into Hendrix after that, after Pearl Jam, after discovering them when I was a teenager. Got into Hendrix later on, late 20s too. Got deeper into Black Sabbath. Listened to Led Zeppelin, found the good songs there. Because I wasn't a classic rock guy when I was young, except for Black Sabbath. Didn't realize how good so many groups were back then. Joe Cocker at Woodstock, fucking Jefferson, Starship, or Airplane, whatever they were called. That woman, I forget her name. My God. I didn't give the classic rock stuff its respect until I was late 20s, in my 30s. Anyway, the kind of guitar player I wanted to be was a Mike McCready kind. But as you can hear, if you've ever listened to my wonderful songs that I made, what my guitar playing always ends up being is some type of Black Sabbath, Tool type thing. Heavy, drop D, Soundgarden-y too, I guess. Sabbath-inspired guitar. And I never wanted to be that, son. It's just what comes out. I can't help it. It just, I don't know, it's instinctive or something. So I went that route instead, but I didn't plan on going that route. It wasn't what I wanted to be. I wanted to be Mike McCready. I wanted to be Hendrixy, bluesy, wah-wah pedal delay. That takes practice. You got to be, it can really sound like shit if you don't know what you're doing. There's a lot going on there. These are advanced guitar techniques from guys that, are just bored playing with a guitar regular, that they would lose their mind. They would kill themselves. It's got to be made 10 times harder and more technical for them to even get anything out of it. I get it. So the Cocteau Twins, I'm more like them. I'm more like this band I'm about to talk about, because I had no idea. Before I move on, though, who else did I kind of find in that period? I just started listening to Sting, like in the Police's like early shit, the stuff we don't hear on the radio. The drummer, the fucking guitar player, Sting himself and playing his bass and the way he sings, that shit's solid. And I was never into the Police and listening to that ever. But I realize how talented that motherfucker is, and his drummer is, and his guitar player. It's a shame. It's a shame they just couldn't stay the Police for the whole career, but whatever, things change. Um, I can't think of anyone else right now. That's enough to make my point, though. I've wasted enough time. So I'm listening to the Cocteau Twins 51050 Fold because it's just a nice song to bug out to and like, smoke or whatever you like. It has a nice full ambiance and cool sound, and it's just, bug out music. And I guess a Suzy and the Banshees video popped up. And I'd forgotten about them. So I clicked on it. It wasn't one of their good songs. It was really bad, actually. But that's not their fault. It's just their style. So I remembered, oh shit, Suzy and the Banshees. There is a song I used to like by them that they played the fuck out of on the radio and on MTV. And that's all I know of Suzy and the Banshees, that one song. Because if I remember correctly, that's all really MTV and the radio in America showed us, and I didn't know they were British. I only learned that tonight. So I find the song, I search, Suzy and the Banshees, and of course the most popular songs come up, and Kiss Them For Me comes up. And I start watching it and listening to it and smoking it. I'm like, yeah, not nice. I remember it. Yeah, I love this. And I remember them playing the fuck out of it, and it's all I know of this group. So what did they present us in America? Because they started off in Britain and they got a following there, and then they, didn't get big here till we saw that song. They presented kind of a pop group, and the song's a kind of poppy song, but there's a lot more going on in it. And that's what I realized as I listened to it more and more, how musically interesting it is. And it's not cliche, and it's not really poppy. And I was watching her because she's mostly the focus of all the videos. And she's a very striking looking woman, a very unique looking woman. Not the classic, model beauty that they mostly throw in our face. And I'm watching her dance and do all the different moves and faces she does. And I'm like, she's interesting. I'm like, she's not a cliche. I'm like, I dig the way she dances too, because I never really paid attention. I'm not into dancing. That's not my thing. I don't do that. And she's not some, how do I put this? She's not some super voluptuous woman with a huge butt and big boobs and, huge lips and what we're also used to seeing often. What a lot of us find sexy. She was kind of a thin, demure woman with thin lips and a very unique looking nose. I'm not insulting her. I think she's a fascinating looking person. And just the way she was dancing and the different moves and the different faces, I'm like, hold on, she's seasoned one. This isn't no amateur here. And I didn't realize that at the time. At the time, it was just a pop song. That's how it was presented to us. We didn't know they were a pseudo punk fucking whatever band from Britain. We're dumb Americans. We just knew, okay, this is a cool pop song with an attractive woman, and it's got cool music. We like it. We like it. And again, that's what I remember being presented to us in America. Forgive me, forgive us. So I'm liking the way she's dancing, and I'm like, and I'm not talking about like I'm getting all turned on in a sexual way, even though she is an attractive woman. No, it wasn't like that. I'm noticing her talent. I'm listening to the way she sings, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't just a straight up easy pop song. The dancing she's doing isn't easy. It's very graceful and beautiful. And she's good at it. She's feeling it, man. I can tell. And it's not the cliche dancing we're used to seeing. And again, I'm watching the way she puts her face. Every camera angle is perfect. All her poses are perfect. Um, it was very artistic and interesting, is what I'm trying to say. And it's a shame I just kind of brushed it off as a pop song back then, and I didn't look into it further. So I'm noticing the creativity of it. I'm noticing she's seasoned. She can dance for real. She's doing some interesting singing. It's not that difficult in that song. Uh, the music's interesting. I love the song. I love what she's doing now that I'm paying attention. And again, it's not just in a male sexual way. That's not what I'm talking about here. Uh, it's in a more artistic, like noticing a person's talent and noticing how striking and talented they are. That's more what I'm talking about. I'm seeing all this. I'm like, you know what? Let me take a look at who she is and her name because I had no idea. Uh, what all this is, what this group's about. Do they have any other good songs? Because I've never found one. Never looked, really. Again, I assume they were a cheesy pop band from the 80s. And they had that one hit, and that's why they're a cheesy pop band without much talent. That's what I thought. Even though the song's great, a catchy song. So I look at her, and her name's Suzy Sue. And they've been going, they started, I believe, in the late 70s. And of course, again, they were in Britain. They didn't catch on here till that song we saw. So I look at their history. I see, wow, in Britain, they really liked the music. Like the albums did well. And they didn't do that great in the States until, that song we all saw, Kiss Them For Me. And she's in a lot of the videos of her back then. It's emo, early 80s, heavy goth type makeup, yellows, white face. It looked cool, actually. Creative, not cliche, interesting. I got what they were doing. I get what you British people were doing. The Beatles, Robert Plant, Zeppelin, the Cocteau Twins, even though I believe, was she Scottish or something? That area of the world, Scotland, Britain, the United Kingdom, Suzy and the Banshees. I get it. I get it. I understand why you people were so into it and why it caught on and why people liked it. So I find their first album because I heard it was really good from the reviews, from what people said about them back then, from how big they were in Britain. They were really popular. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I had no idea. So I start listening to the first album and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this girl can really sing. She's creative as fuck. They remind me of the Cocteau Twins slightly. The same type of guitar experimentation. Not a lot of Not a lot of technical solos and stuff like that, which isn't necessary for all music. There's a place and a time for that. In this type of music, it really doesn't belong. It would just sound stupid. It would sound forced and put in just because that's the formula to do a song in most people's mind. In this music, it doesn't belong. In the songs I did, that yeah, those solos wouldn't have belonged. They would have been stupid, except for maybe one of them. But anyway, that type of music, that ethereal, full sounding, repetitive in a lot of ways, but that's cool to me. I like music like that. Uh, I like to bug out to it. I like when it puts you in a trance, and I understand I'm in a trance, and I understand why I'm relaxed and why I'm into it, and I get the whole process. It doesn't bother me. It's just a relaxation technique. That's all. Um, those again, technical solos don't really need to be there. It's a different kind of music. Uh, so not a lot of solos. It has that kind of a lot of effects like the Cocteau Twins, very creative singing like the Cocteau Twins. They don't sound alike at all. That's not what I'm saying. There's some similar guitar technique that sounds similar. There's some similar guitar technique to The Police with Sting, because it was that era. The early 80s, I believe this album came out, 81, something like that. So it makes sense that the Cocteau Twins, that guitar player, the guitar player for Suzy and the Banshees from Britain as well. Sting, I think, is from Britain, right? Um, his guitar player's technique and sound, because that sound was kind of trendy, that very trebly, kind of clear, distorted sound. Uh, that bites into the ear just a tiny bit. A lot of guitar experimentation like that, like the Cocteau Twins. And like five, six of the songs are fucking solid. I was like, holy shit, these people were a real band. Like they were creative as hell. The music's so interesting. There's certain elements from the early 80s, that are a little bit cheesy in like one or two songs, but they're still good songs. Fascinating music. Very creative. They tried to do something, and the singer, SiouXsiE, I don't know her real name, very creative and different. That song Into the Light is number 2, I believe, on the album. That was the first one I really liked. The first song, it has that thing everyone was doing in the early and mid 80s in British music and other music. For some reason, they needed to add like medieval horns and sounds and images in their videos. Did you notice that in the early and mid 80s? A lot of music videos that came from Britain and elsewhere. There was this theme of let's put medieval times in there. Let's put medieval sounding horns. It was just a trend going on in the early 80s with that electronic, pseudo electronic music. Uh, Other than that, it could have came out in 1992 and everybody would have been like, oh shit, this shit's awesome. This is some grunge right here. Uh, I'm so impressed. I mean, they got real skills like the Cocteau Twin. Like they put, what I'm trying to say, I guess, with all these 10,000 words, they put some real art forth. It's got mania. It's got the bug out factor. I forget what the third thing is. Mania, bug out. I can't remember. It's got both of those things, and she is tremendously talented. Now I know why I saw something in her and in the song and in the video and in the music more than you would see in like a Britney Spears video or a cheesy pop band's video. These were real artists. That's why she's so good. That's why she can dance the way she can dance. And it's not, it's not modern urban type dancing, let's put it that way. It's a woman displaying her grace in the way she can move. That's what it is. And it's natural. That's why it looked the way it looked. And not forced and stupid. That's why she could get away with the model faces and model poses and models can't. It looks forced and stupid. Because she's really that girl that models wish they were. What's the word I'm looking for? A star? A truly talented, instinctually talented, artistic, creative star? That doesn't make her better than every other human being. It just makes her different than a runway model. That's all. Um, Blondie started as like a Playboy girl. Uh, you would think no talent, no creativity, no art really in a person like that, right? That's what you would think. I think she's tremendously talented and creative and artistic, even though she started off there. And I don't fault her for it. I'm glad she got out of it, actually. She did the world quite the favor by getting out of it because she made some phenomenal fucking music. Again, she was no pop band, no pop star. That's a real, that was a real group. They were really talented. She was really talented. She had something real inside her. Anyway, that's why the Kiss Them For Me video and the way she moves and the faces and her model poses and all the different angles and everything looks so perfect because she's instinctually good at it. She's an artist. She got something real. And she was also seasoned by that point. She had been doing it for a while. All I'm saying, I guess, is I love when I find something like this. Bjork, too, in my late 20s, early 30s. I forgot about that. I heard her few songs they played on MTV over the years, and I liked them, and I thought she was interesting and unique and different. And then I listened to her albums, and I was like, oh my God, this woman's like, she's a master, son. A straight master. And then I learned she had been singing since she was like 9. And, a master. The different things she does. The music's so creative. And I'm not talking everything they play that you've heard on the radio. The songs you haven't heard, the different, so creative, so artistic. She may be the best female artist ever born. I don't know. Because of the sheer volume of what she's done. I don't know. She's a contender. That's for fucking sure. You go through her albums and there's so many good songs that are just utterly creative and different and amazing. I learned from her. I learned from Karen O. I learned from Suzy here. I learned from the Cocteau Twins woman. One of the things I learned from female singers and females in general in regards to singing is grace. When you see a man yelling on a stage, or he looks like he's yelling, he looks like he's putting his whole body into it. He's got his mouth cocked open. And it appears that he's screaming all night, right? He's screaming? No, he's not. He's not screaming at all. If he did, he'd lose his voice in about 2 minutes, if he's lucky. Because that's not what singing is. Singing isn't screaming. And I had to learn that the hard way. It's a male thing for me, I guess. Push harder, push harder. That's what men do, right? when something's not working, when they're trying to learn something. Force it. Mentally, there's some block in my mind for singing that I have to force it. I have to push. That's how they do it. It looks like that's how they do it, right? Sheer instinct and push. No, it's shaping your mouth into an acoustic shape. Otherwise, it will not project. Some of the sound has to come out your nose. So you have to form your mouth to be able to do that. If you lose that formation, the sound changes utterly. And it's a graceful kind of let it fall out. You can push here and there for accent, for power, but the more you use it, the faster the power of your voice is going to go away. When you're singing correctly, projection, relaxation of all this. And you're barely making an effort. And as long as you breathe in between where you need to, you could sustain notes, for very long periods. And singing almost becomes effortless, even though it looks like someone's struggling and screaming, right? No, they're not doing that again. They're barely pushing the sound and air up from their diaphragm in the slightest of ways. That's what I didn't understand about singing for many years. That I guess I learned from women observing how they sing. You have to soften it or it doesn't work. It's that simple. Singing is a graceful art, and singing is to sing is to, what's it called? Fight nature, fight instinct, fight habit. Because what looks like a scream is a fucking whisper. In other words, when you get to a part of a song, you're performing for a crowd. You want this part to sound powerful. This is the crescendo. So you're going to push like a motherfucker with your diaphragm and scream it, right? No. You'll make sure your mouth is in the perfect acoustic position and the air comes out the right way and the sound comes out the right way. And you may even lighten up on the push from the diaphragm and it will come out more powerful. That's it, to fight logic as well to sing. That's why the most seasoned professionals make mistakes on stage. Your mind is constantly telling you to do the wrong thing. Because singing isn't screaming ever. Even Kurt Cobain. Yeah, he did real screams here and there. But he was still singing. There was a technique involved. That's why it sounds so cool and powerful. He wasn't just screaming all night. If he did, again, his voice would be gone in 2 minutes. So when you're singing again, you're fighting the logical mind the entire time. Everything you're doing is the reverse of logic. You want it to sound powerful, you might back off on the push. And then the sound hits the acoustics more because it's coming out slower. And it comes out even louder and broader. Doesn't make logical sense, right? Right. But that's the way you have to do it. So, I don't know how I got into all that. I got to make my point and get out of here. I love when I find shit like that. When I say to myself, okay, I like a few Björk songs. Let me take a look at her albums when I'm 30 years old, 27, whatever. and I find 20 amazing songs, and I realize she's one of the most talented people ever. I love that. Um, Tori Amos, I didn't like her when I was super young. A couple songs and I checked out her albums. Or I think my friend gave me an album that had 4 songs. I borrowed it or I heard it. Same thing. Bjork, the Cocteau Twins, my God, they got so many great songs. And now, Suzy and the Banshees, my God, I can't stop listening to these 4 or 5 songs. They're so fucking creative. They're so interesting. Uh, and I had no idea they were a real group. Super fucking talented. They got some nice tribal drum beats going in different songs too. Again, way ahead of their fucking time. And Karen O again, she just completely ripped off the Cocteau Twins girl and this Suzy and the Banshees girl. I understand that now. And I don't falter for it. I love Karen O. I learned from her as well. Some of the songs I made, maybe all of them. And I wish I didn't do this now that I listen to it back, but maybe it needed to be done to sound the way it sounds. She uses this effect on her microphone, and it's a standard effect they've had since like the 60s. A lot of punk musicians used it. And it makes the singing come out a tiny bit spacey, and it gives this kind of trebly edge to it. And it's because of her using that effect and me listening to her music, Karen O, I'm talking about the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I started using that effect when I made my music. I don't know. I guess I had her on the brain or something. I don't know. And it gives it kind of a punky, edgy, and it bites into the ear a little bit. It's supposed to. It's that mic effect is supposed to sound bitey. And I use that for most of the song, so that's probably why it sounds bitey. The same way it sounds bitey when Karen O uses it. Or the Cocteau Twins lady uses it. If she did, I think she may have used it. I can't remember. It sounds bitey. It's supposed to. When the punk musicians use it, it's supposed to. I don't. I can't remember what the effect's called. Uh, so there's microphone effects, and I'm not talking about delay and shit like that. I'm talking about it makes the microphone a type of microphone. Um, and everyone kind of has that type of microphone they like to use. Pearl Jam, Cornell like to use, Staley like to use. It has a specific sound to it. Before a voice touches it, it'll always have that sound. So I learned from Karen O, and I learned from women singers and women in general that singing is an art of grace. And even though I'm a male and I'm not graceful, I understand that. And it's a constant fight to fight with the logical mind to do it correctly so it sounds good. And I'm not just talking about being in key. That's a whole nother problem that every human has. How do I maintain key? Do I need music? Do I not need music? Do I need 30 years practice? Your brain, I guess, just gets used to it. At least mine does. That's why I can sing without music and stay in key. Most of the time. Not all the time, because I'm not God and no singer's perfect. I've heard every singer fuck up. Everyone you can think of. Badly. It's a technique. You can make a mistake. One of the worst mistakes you can make is you lose your position of your jaw and the air's not going up through your nose. Fucks up everything. You don't necessarily have to use that all the time. There are techniques where the air's not going through your nose, but eventually you have to go back to it. Or it just doesn't project right. That's how you sing. A lot of air and noise is coming out your nose, too. That's why Cornell would have the mic like over here, out all the way up, because it's like right in line. That's something I learned from him. If you're a rock singer, you're singing super high pitch, you're doing screams, which aren't really screams, but they sound like screams and they look like screams. Because you need your jaw in a certain position. When you do that, you have to know microphone technique. You can't just have the mic right here, screaming into it all the time. Axl Rose, you notice, has that big pad on his microphones because he likes to have the mic right here. He still moves it back and forth, though, and out like this. Because he's got that high-pitched nose thing going on, too, like Cornell had. So certain times when I would sing and I was recording, I would do the same thing. You have to get that high pitch. It's too close to the mic, and it comes out like shit. So you have to kind of like back the thing off. Anyway, I love when I find shit like that. Suzy and the Banshees, you motherfuckers are truly talented, and not just her. The guitar player's incredible. He reminds me of the experimental guitar playing of the Cocteau Twins, dude. I'm sorry I don't know all their names. There's so many musicians and songs I have in my head. I can't remember it all. I can't learn it all. That kind of early 80s, late 70s experimental guitar with effects thrown on it. But still, it's in my opinion, it's a real expression of talent and creativity. Not every guitar player has to be the standard. Again, 3 choruses, a bridge, a solo, and that's every song. No, all music doesn't have to be that. Every guitar player doesn't have to be that. Be anything you want as long as the music comes out cool. That's the real main objective, right? Whether it's a guy that plays solos, whether it's a guy that only plays solos sometimes, whether it's a guy that plays solos never, if it's that type of music, if that's what works, if that's your sound, if that's your thing, that's what's great about it. You can make anything if you know how. And that's what I'm talking about as well with Sting, with his group, The Police, the Cocteau Twins, Suzy and the Banshees. Now that I've seen that, they were, doing some experimentation, trying to put some real art in your face, not garbage. They were trying, and you could tell. They were trying to do something different and interesting, even though they had their musical influences as well. But that first Suzy and the Banshees album, I think it's called Juju or something. Yes, there's a song called Voodoo Doll. I thought about why you British people are so good at music. Turned out so many good bands. Scottish, British, Irish. It's probably your like pagan roots and shit, like Stonehenge, paganism, tribal pagans like fucking making music and shit. And my ancestry would be Germany or Italy, Europe, like you, a different part, but so I'm from that as well. Origins are pagan as a motherfucker. My mother was a brilliant artist. We didn't get along, but that's beside the point. When she loved painting these little statues of like Santa Claus, Easter Bunny stuff. I'm talking about statues this big, statues this big, statues this big. I'm talking she'd buy them white and they'd look alive by the time she was done. Hundreds she did over her life. She did Christmas ornaments. She baked cakes. And when she baked a cake, son, they looked better than the picture. When you saw a Boba Fett cake in a picture, hers looked better than the picture. That's the level I'm talking about of artists with her cakes that she made. She made, the stack wedding cakes, all of it. The art she did, the painting of the statues, hundreds over. And when you go into a store and you see a ceramic statue of a Christmas ornament or an Easter ornament or whatever, a bunny, and you're like, wow, that looks really nice. The artist did a good job. My mother's would look 1,000 times better than that. You'd never see something like she did in a store. I'm talking mastery here. The thing would glow by the time she was. I don't know how people do that with paint and gloss and the whole thing and make it look alive, son. That's how good she was. So I was thinking of the Europeans' pagan origins and the British especially, and maybe that's why they're so good at music. And then I thought of my pagan origins because I'm a white European as well. My ancestry is anyway. And then I thought about my mother and how she was totally into the Christmas, Easter bunny, pagan shit. Even though we were Christians, we did the sacraments in church once in a while, and like most other people. But honestly, when I look back at her life, she was, painting pagan Christmas statues and pagan bunny statues every night, or for years. I'm not judging her for it. I'm just saying that's the plain reality. But as an artist, I realized when I got a little older that what my mother was doing with her cakes and her statues and shit, and pretty much any art she did, was way better than anything you see in a store. And so I realized how talented she actually was. And she just loved to do it. I don't know why. I didn't understand it, but damn talented. So maybe that's why maybe that's why I have an affinity for it. I'm not saying I'm a pagan. As I was thinking about this, the Book of Enoch, I don't know if you've ever read or heard of it. They've done documentaries. The Vatican will not allow the Book of Enoch to be part of the Bible whenever that was decided, however many years ago. And that's policy up until this moment. That is not considered scripture. I read the Book of Enoch, and what bothers me about it is I got the vibe that it's legitimate. In other words, I got the same vibe when I read the real scripture. I could be wrong. I'm not God. And I'm not an expert on what's legitimate scripture and what isn't. I'm just talking about a feeling. That's all. So as I read it, I got the feeling it had that same vibe that what they tell us legitimate scripture is, what's included in the Bible. And basically the story of Enoch is this. Fallen angels came down. They showed man how to fight wars, how to make metals and weapons, women how to put makeup on their faces and look pretty and beautiful, and presentation of women in that way. Music, art. When we make art, what are we doing? We're making images, right? Statues, paintings, idols, perhaps. A song could be seen the same thing. The effects music has on people, how men and women turn into little children who are in utter awe of a person if they can sing and dance and entertain them on a stage. The hypnotic effects of music. You could look at that as some type of, I don't know, witchcraft, some type of image. What I'm trying to say, people, and I'm no better than any of you out there, not judging anyone. The Book of Enoch, what it tells us, one aspect of it, it has other aspects. There are other narratives going on, is what I'm trying to say. Other parts of the story. I'm focusing on this one. What it tells us is everything our society is based on and everything we love was given to us by fallen angels. Music, art, beauty for women, the makeup, all that, the presentation of women. So I wonder about the Book of Enoch, because it basically tells us that everything we do, our daily lives, what we love, what we're into, what we do, what we're about, is wrong. Was given to us by fallen entities, which followed the devil. So I wonder if that book was not included because it tells us everything in our daily life is wrong. Or it tells us it was given to us by nefarious entities. What do we do with that? Do all women stop wearing makeup? Do we make no more music ever? Do we make nothing metal? Technology as well. Gift from them as well. In the story. I love music. Even though I'm a Christian, does that make me a pagan of the fallen now? Questions I have. So again, I wonder if the Vatican, whoever made that decision not to include the Book of Enoch, maybe that's why they didn't include it, because it would do real damage to society, because everything our society is based on, how it functions, what we as men and women do every day, was given to us by fallen entities. The days of the week are named after pagan gods and planets, which are pagan gods. And the Book of Enoch describes basically what our society is based on technology. It's based on forging metals. It's based on fighting wars, seizure of territory. I mean, Iran, right there. I'm not going to get political right now, though. Every day, women put makeup on before they go to, if they're old enough, before they go to school, before they go to work, when they go out, before they leave the house. And I like it, ladies. Don't get me wrong. You all look lovely. I like makeup. I write songs and record them and sing them sometimes. A lot of you do. Musicians out there do. So, are we guilty for all those things? If they were really given by fallen entities? I guess we would be, right? Unless the book isn't true, it's not real. But if we look at the origins of so many things, we can kind of trace it back to something like that. Like where the art of painting women's faces came from. Isn't that from like ancient Egypt? You know where Freemasonry comes from? A lot of that bad stuff. Again, ladies, I like the makeup. I think a lot of you look great in it. So I really wonder if that book was left out because it offends society itself. It would have us all asking ourselves and realizing, oh shit, everything our society is based on. The rules of it, what we love, everything. Our practices was given to us by fallen entities. It's of the devil. So we're all wrong. Can't have that in the Bible. Or it's just not true. It's not a real book. But again, son, when I read it, I get that vibe that it's real. It's legitimate. I could be totally wrong. I really could. Anyway, I've talked long enough. I've bored you long enough. I'm sure I can tell by the -5 people here. I just wanted to share that with you. Suzy and the Banshees, check out their first album. It's worth it. There's like 5, 6 good songs. I'm very impressed. I love when I find real artists, man. Because it's rare, son. And, you know, a lot of them are drug addicts. A lot of them died young. But were they real artists? That's all I want to know. And it's a shame for Suzy and the Banshees that they got presented as like some just straight pop group. And we didn't hear more before that point. Not that I would have noticed. I was a young child. I was not even a teenager by 1985, so I wouldn't have noticed, but it still would have been cool. And I'm glad I found it. Because I'm getting older and I've done this process many times, like check people's albums out, tried to find something new and that's really good, really artistic, really creative, that I really like. That fascinates me, that maybe teaches me something musically. And, you know, I'm digging this. I'm getting, you know, ideas. It's making me think. That's what I'm looking for. Real art. Can't say that about everybody. It's so rare. So I've been through this process throughout my life, and I've looked at a lot of different groups. No, they're not good. No, 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 no. And then once in a while, I find something like this, like the Cocteau Twins, like Bjork. And you realize there's a whole catalog that these people have done, a whole nother career even with the Cocteau Twins. I knew the singer woman, I can't remember her name again, forgive me. Again, from a modern video from a movie I like called Lost Highway. So I saw that music by her first. And I always found the song interesting, and I could just see something in her that she was very skilled. I had no idea where she came from or who she was. Then I looked into it. Oh shit, she's famous as fuck from a British group called the Cocteau Twins that were famous as hell when you were a child. That's how come you don't know who they are. You were a small child. So I love that. When I find that, that's so rare. You're not going to find that every day. It's just once in a while on a whim. You just be looking at them. There's this group I used to like. Maybe check out their catalog. See if they're for real or not. And what I'm looking for as well, because I need a high level, Groups like this, Suzy and the Banshees, that make me think of new musical ideas, a different singing technique. She's totally fucking unique. Very difficult singing style. It's very creative and individual, and it ain't cliche in any way, shape, or form when you listen to these songs on the first album. And again, Karen O, man, she just took so much from this woman and the Cocktail Woman, that those two bands. But I still love her. I love her. Karen O, I mean. Because I learned from her too. And she took it and, you know, she made it a more modern version. And I'm glad she did. Anyway, I'm glad I found this. You should check it out. If you don't know, now you know that Suzy and the Banshees just wasn't a shitty pop group that only had one hit and then went away. They were a real British group that made albums, and their first album especially is excellent. 5, 6 good songs, and that's all you really can't expect all 10 to be wonderful, especially from 1981. Maybe you like more. Check it out. And I love finding these artistic, interesting things that I didn't know existed. I'm so glad I checked tonight, even though I don't have time. Have a wonderful evening. I hope you enjoyed this musical discussion. I'd like to dedicate it to someone that said, you know, it's good to talk about these things sometimes. They know who they are. Dedicated to you. Have a wonderful evening.